Hey, welcome to God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. So glad you guys could join today on another episode of Men's Stories and Conversations. And whether this be your first time or whether you've been listening since the beginning, I want to welcome you all to the show. I hope that you can get as comfortable as you can, whether it be that you're sitting on the backyard, whether you're sitting out somewhere where you can just totally sit down and really focus in on what we're talking about today, whether you're riding in your car. I just hope that you can not only get comfortable, but more importantly, I hope that you can imagine yourself sitting with this community that cares about you in hopes that you can not only feel God's love, but see God's glory in men's real stories. So on today's episode, I have a special guest as always. And the beauty of my guest is that normally in most cases, a lot of them come to me because it's been put on their heart to say, you know what, I would love to sit down and talk about my story, converse about different things that I'm currently going through in life in hopes that, in talking about these things, it will allow me to truly be able to process with speaking it out loud. But more importantly, it will also allow others who are currently going through these things to see and process with me as they may be going through similar things. And so on today's guest, I would consider this more of like, I tell men that men from all age ranges have a story. And most of the time, it's not just older men with a story. Sometimes there are a lot of young men that have a story. They've gone through things that allow them to be able to see things from a perspective that sometimes older men can't speak on because they haven't walked this walk in this time, in this day and age. So I'd like to welcome to the show a good friend, family that I have walked with. I have seen him grow in a lot of ways, and I'm excited to have him on my youth series of God's Glory and Men's Real Story. My nephew, Michael Nesbit.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, yeah, no, happy to have you here today.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Feeling good today, yeah.
All right. So how's it feel to be in the real world now? This real world that everybody told you that was going to be like, oh man, you just wait, going from high school, graduating high school, going into, the working world of what life has to offer. Is it everything that everybody expressed?
Man, it sucks.
Does it
really? I ain't gonna sugarcoat it.
Okay. So expound. Why does it suck?
Well, in the time that I've turned 18 and the time that I've been out of school, I've already had 2 full-time jobs. That the one I have right now is really good. It's really good to me. I got really good hours, good money and everything. But the one before absolutely sucked because I had to wake up about 4:30 every morning to go in at 6 and then not get like a little 15-minute break at 9, then lunch 45 minutes, and then I'd be working like a almost 10-hour shift. Right. In a stuffy warehouse with no seating area. I had to continuously work, and then welcome to real life. Like we didn't tell you that it was going to be awesome. There are certain parts of it that are awesome. There are certain parts that you're going to find so much joy in. But in most cases, real life, I guess they call it the real world now that you're in, it comes along with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of adjustments that are really uncomfortable. And of course, we wouldn't want to tell you that, because if we told you that, then you would run from it. You would probably try to do high school again. So no, you're definitely experiencing what the real world has to offer as far as you're fresh in it. So of course, a lot of the things that you're pioneering doing right now, it's the stuff that you're having to experience to say, I don't like that. I don't want to do that either. So I don't ever need to go back and try that out. That was no fun, especially first thing in the morning. Yeah. But outside of the uncomfortable factors of it, do you feel like there are a lot of changes now that you are, making decisions on your own? You're making your own money. You're having to pay maybe a few bills of your own. More than a few.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of bills are you paying these days?
I got to pay whenever something happens to my car. I got to pay that, gas. I got Spotify. I got a gym membership. Got my phone bill. I got to pay for different stuff like that. And then got one more bill that I don't know about. It's something. But I can't.
I'm gonna need you to know about all that. Yeah. I know I see the money coming out. I'm just not sure what that is.
I need to call the bank real quick.
No. They it's funny. They have a ton of apps out here nowadays that allow you to be able to see exactly where that money's. Like, wait a minute, that's a reoccurring fee. I need to know what that is. But that's another part of growing pains.
Well, the crazy thing is that I get my paycheck in about like an hour or so. I paid all my bills and got
dang, I got like 500 left. That's about half the paycheck. So half the paycheck goes to like bills and paying myself back if I went back in my savings, and then adding more to my savings. So it's just a lot that it is to take in.
So what is it like now, like as far as savings? Because a lot of people don't think savings right off. They think like, okay, I'm going to spend all my money on my bills, and then at that point, everything else goes to me. I'm going to splurge on me. I'm going to go out and buy this, and I'm going to floss with that, and I'm going to pick up these extra, because a lot of people, when they see they have extra money, that just means, hey, look, I'm going to pick up a lot of extra bills, and so I'm going to pick up. I can take on this, or I can take on a nicer car, because I have $500 left over each month. But how are you pioneering with a lot of that as far as savings and investing and different things at your age?
Well, my mom, she learned a budget whenever we were back living in our duplex, because we had to pay a lot of stuff off, and so it was at Central, the church we was going to at the time. There was this budgeting class. She got this whole budgeting thing, so she wants me to start budgeting, and that's how I went and like saving. So she used to say every time I spent money, put the amount of money that you spend back in your savings or something like that.
That's good.
But now every paycheck I put about 50 in.
Okay.
So like it's kind of just self-explanatory. Just put 50 in every single time I get paid.
Right. Almost like you're paying yourself back. Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. That's really good. So what else do you feel outside of, budgeting, and now that you're making money, you're kind of putting money to the side, but you're also preparing for whatever life throws at you next. So outside of, your normal routine of just, going to work, and everything you're doing that revolves around the life you're currently living, what would you say is one of the hardest parts about being in the real world outside of working? What's something that you've realized now that you're out of high school, that you're like, wow, they didn't tell me about this?
Honestly, it's probably seeing the people that you went to high school with doing better than what you're doing right now. Seeing that, some people are going to college, they're going to have fun every single night, they're going to parties every night. And I know I'm not a very big partier, but I would at least like to get invited,
Right. No, I can understand that. And so how does that affect you? Does it give you like a feeling of like FOMO, and that, I'm missing out, and it's creating like a level of like, why is it that I'm missing out? Or what is that? How do you take that? Or how do you move with that feeling of like, everybody else seems to just be having fun. What's going on with my life?
I like to think it is more like motivation to do better than them in the future than what I am right now. Because right now they're working, or they're going to school 4 years just to get a job that they'll probably last them about like 50 years or so, and they'll make about minimum, be like an average. But I'm trying to do something right now that could last me another 4 years, but make me feel greater about myself than working some dead end job and just working. I'd rather work my dream job and do something that I want to do instead of something that somebody else told me to do.
Okay. So do you feel like you may know exactly like, or you're already trying to hone in on like what that may be, or what you feel is going to be that dream job, or what your purpose is as far as you grow and you understand yourself better and see what you like, what you don't like, what not that you're going to like everything, or not that you're going to be comfortable with every change, but are you starting to kind of like hone in on what you are passionate about, what your purpose could be, and what you want to do with your life?
I like to think I have a good understanding or a good like idea of what I want to do. I love music, and I make music, and that,
right?
And I've been working at it about a little over a year, and it's just something that I love to do. And I had this teacher named Miss Hicks that I had Bible class with. She taught Bible, like Old Testament, Advanced Old Testament, New Testament, and Advanced New Testament. And I was in all 4 of those classes. I rocked it. I rocked all those classes.
Okay.
It's about the only A I ever got.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But she said that music is like a gateway to the soul. So I was like, and you can connect with people through music way more, because you hear like a catchy tune, you hear it repetitive, repeat. And if it's something, it's a good message that you heard, or it's like I can get through this. I can make the impossible happen.
Right.
Or something like that. That's going through your head all the time. And, like saying something like, what is it called? I forgot the word, but it's like where you say it and you know what's going to happen. You just say it and say it and say it until it happens.
Almost like an affirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was for some reason I was thinking affirmative, but that's not the word.
Close. Yeah, affirmation. Yeah, close.
But that's, if you tell yourself you're going to make it, if you tell yourself that, hey, I'm going to have a good day today, if you tell yourself that, hey, what I'm doing right now is going to be better than what it feels right now,
right,
it is.
Right.
It's all about mental growth.
Right. But now, so in telling yourself you're right, but what are you doing to affirm that? What are you doing to back those words up? Like, what are you doing to it's almost like saying, okay, I believe I'm going to have a good day today, but what are you doing to make sure you have a good day today? Like, because a lot of times we will try to convince ourselves with the right words to make us feel like, well, even though this looks this way, I'm going to say, or I'm going to, I remember always hearing, you have what you say. So I'm going to say the opposite of what I'm seeing, what I'm facing. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of times, a lot of people will do that and won't put any action behind where they're trying to go with their words. So what do you feel you're currently doing, or what do you feel that you have had to do to make sure you're backing those affirmations that you're saying regularly?
Well, if you say you want to get fit, you go to the gym. You don't just look in the mirror and be like, I'm getting fit today, and then not go to the gym.
Right.
You have to back up your words. It's almost like in the Bible it says, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
You gotta have those deeds and do stuff to affirm your faith.
Okay. So what are you doing as far as what are you doing to grow from a standpoint of your career, your future purpose, your future plans of what you feel like are going to push you to where you want to be?
Whenever I first started doing music, I bought this little plug-in mic that I could plug into a computer. Wasn't, no interface, none of like the little cables or anything. It was just a little USB. I tried that. That was the first step. Then I bought, studio headphones, a little interface along with a microphone. Mm-hmm. And then I kept growing it. And now that I have those little, those little eyeball things, or like the little blue and black things that artists use, that like get a little studio sound around their mics.
Oh yeah.
I bought one of those so I could, instead of going to a studio and paying all that money just for maybe a session that I didn't like, I could just do it from my house.
Right.
And I built everything by myself. Like,
okay.
With the money that I've saved up, the money that I've worked, working a full-time job, I've done it all by myself. And when I tell myself that, you're gonna make it, or when you make it or something like that, I have these actions of me working and buying and meeting new people, and me meeting my engineer and him making better tracks for me, and like seeing my old ones that I used to mix and being like, that would have never been what this is.
Right.
So it's always those actions that affirm too.
Right. So in all of that and everything that you're doing to back up the affirmations, what normally starts to seep in that creates like a discouragement or creates like a level of fear in the midst of all of that?
Your own thoughts, yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Like when you just have like a bad night or whatever, and you're sitting in your bed, you're like, I don't want to feel this way right now, but I am. And you're just sitting there, you're like, I'm never gonna do it. I'm never gonna be what I want. And you just go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's not even like the devil's putting that in your head. It's like you're putting that like you're putting those thoughts in your own head. Like you're getting, like, how some people say you're getting in your own way.
Right.
That's what.
Well, do you ever feel like those thoughts? I mean, like a lot of them don't come out of anywhere. I mean, all of a sudden it takes one thought to kind of seep in for you to go down that hole of like, that's right. I'm not good enough. That was terrible. Or I'm not going to do this well, or whatever whatever the thought may be. But it always takes that one thought that creates that spiral of ongoing thoughts that may have you thinking to yourself, you know what, maybe all these thoughts are right. And more so because they're my thoughts, maybe I'm just telling myself the truth about it. And a lot of times I tell people, think about it. Those thoughts weren't there when you were actually creating this. Those thoughts came up after you started creating it. And it happens to every last one of us. But sometimes we have to recognize where they came from. And I remember I was listening to a pastor one time say that a lot of our thoughts come from the devil, and that he's the master of lies.
Yeah.
And he's going to create a lie that's going to turn into many little lies. But if you can look at it from a standpoint of all he can do is tell lies.
Yeah.
So if he's telling me I'm no good, then that means I am awesome. I am killing this, and I am not even giving myself enough credit for that.
Yeah.
And so it will, all it takes is one lie, whether it be from your mind or whether it be from people that you kind of have listened to certain things, or you say, hey, look, what are your thoughts on this? Because a lot of times we're looking from validation from other people to kind of, what's your pulse? What's your thought on this? I mean, I find myself doing it a lot. And sometimes it's a matter of, well, what's your thought? How do you feel about it? Like, do you like it?
Yeah.
Is it something that resonates with you? Do you feel like you were led to create that, and that was something that you were super excited about? Well, why now are you like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're starting to talk yourself out of something that you put down.
It's, well, for some people, it's like somebody telling you something that they like, they have like no opinion on. Like I remember this actually just happened the other day. So I thought hate doesn't really affect me. Like somebody saying that something of mine is bad doesn't really affect me, because I would just laugh it off because I'm just really chill. But I got the newest song I released. Well, not the newest, but the latest song I released is called Real Life. And so that's like one of the best doing songs, or like best streamed songs on my actual discography right now. And on my post on Instagram, somebody just totally random, I don't even know him, he said, "You've got hidden talent, keep it hidden."
Okay.
And I was like, that's funny.
You know what I've learned? I don't know. I just recently called somebody and told them, I said, I have never received a negative. I've always heard about negative comments, people coming on and putting negative comments. And I felt like maybe I'm doing something right. But you know what I realized? You have not actually tapped into something till the negativity shows up to meet you. And that is when you're headed in the right direction.
That's when
negativity shows up.
That's when I was like, man, I'm gonna blow. I'm gonna make it soon, because if somebody's hating that I don't even know, like if somebody's saying that my stuff is something that they know nothing about,
right?
Then they're obviously hearing it.
Plus, they took the time out to do that.
Exactly.
They took the time out.
Like whenever I'm just scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through whatever, I'm like, that was all right. I'm not gonna post. I'm not gonna go on a little message and be like, yo, this sucks. I'm gonna be like, it was all right, and just keep scrolling, because it doesn't affect me.
Right.
But by the time it affects them, that's how you know you're growing on them.
Right.
And then like the one you're talking about, the devil plants little lies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's always that like little paradox or whatever. It's like, if a liar says he's lying, is he telling the truth? And so there's that little thoughts and stuff like that get in our minds. Because if the devil lies and all he does is lie, then is he telling the truth? But we know he's not. But there's always that little, that
little thing that makes you feel like, okay, since that was so close to home, maybe he is.
Yeah.
Maybe he is. Maybe there is some truth to it.
Maybe I'm telling myself the truth, but it's a lie. But you want to believe it's true, but you don't want to believe it's true.
That's deep. Okay.
There's a lot of, you contradict yourself so much,
right,
that you almost like you can never go forward without wanting to go back.
Do you ever feel like you want to step back and go back, or maybe just say, this is not for me? Yeah,
definitely. I've definitely wanted to step back and be like, well, what could I do? Then I realized I put so much into this, I can't go back.
Well, no, I mean, that not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of people that get all the way out there and they get to a point where they're just like, oh, wow, like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna, like, I've invested so much, but at this point I gotta like cut my losses and just say, but no, I can commend a person who says, you know what, I'm not going to let my thoughts, I'm not going to let what other people are saying or what they're believing about what I'm doing dictate whether I move forward or not. if I decide I'm going to wake up and move forward today, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, because you can only control you.
Yeah. No, and that's true. That's true. And you're in charge of your decisions. You're in charge of what moves you make next. Mm-hmm. And if you allow others to make those decisions for you, then at that point, you're no longer in control.
Yeah, you're in their control.
Correct. Yeah.
It's almost like artists on a label. Sometimes they'll sign a contract that they don't even know anything about. And I heard I like Dave Chappelle a lot whenever he said it was like this big story or whatever. He was playing this little game in the streets, and then this guy was like moving these little cards around or whatever. He was like, pick the red card, and he didn't pick it, and then he realized that everybody that was like hooting and hollering and like cheering him on or whatever was his friends. And so there was all like a big scam or whatever. And then whenever he was signing his contract for like whatever he was doing, all the lawyers or whatever in the room were telling him it's a great contract, but what if they were all friends,
right?
Just trying to get to the same goal, trying to get to that, just making money off of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can only really trust yourself and the people that you know.
Okay. Expound upon that. I mean, like, as far as trust, what have you learned about trust that has led you to believe that you can only trust yourself and the friends that you know?
Well, the thing we were talking about on Thanksgiving, it was about like, trusting somebody on the internet that you don't know, but you feel they're getting vulnerable with you, so you feel like you can trust them. Whenever someone gets vulnerable, that's whenever they feel trust is coming after. Like if, let's say you're getting vulnerable with a friend, you're like, man, like let's say your mom died, you'd be like, man, I miss my mom a lot. And you're giving that trust, and you're going to trust that.
Well, it's almost like you're opening up. You're creating a space to where they feel like you didn't have to tell me that, but you did.
Yeah.
And in response to your trust with me of that information, maybe I can trust you with my information.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I guess I can see how that could go wrong, because you felt led to say, you know what, in your vulnerability, I want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I mean, it's one thing we discuss a lot here, and that as men, we're normally not as open or available to be vulnerable because of whether it be trust issues, whether it be that you don't want to open up and say things that later on could be used to come back or against you. You don't want to feel as though you're less than. And as men, a lot of times we're taught that as a man, you have to have it all together. We discuss that a lot here. You have to have all of your eggs in a row. You have to pull it together. You have to make it look good. You can't fail. You can't not be okay. You have to be okay at all times. More importantly, if you're not okay, we definitely don't cry about it. But I would say that
exactly.
Is that a church right there?
Listen, go ahead and hit that button. Go ahead.
Is that a church right there? Like, yeah, I mean, it's all of those are things that we have experienced. We've been taught that. We've been programmed with that. And so as a young man, you're now kind of trying to move through life with those thoughts sometimes that, you know what, I have to hold it together. I have to live up to the stigma of what they told me a man looks like.
Well, even, a man, we're not meant to show emotion. Like we don't want to seem weak, because if we seem weak, that means somebody's gonna try us. And if we appear weak, that means somebody could step all over us and just just do whatever they want with us. And like going back to that crying thing, I haven't cried in like 4 or 5 years. And even my friend, like one of my best friends, he even said he doesn't cry either. It's just as a young man that's trying to come up, you can't show emotion. But the thing is, everybody wants you to, but once you do, they don't want nothing to do with you.
Wow. That's rough to hear, because I know exactly what you're saying, and I've lived that, and I've held back tears for years until it got to a point where I realized that holding in the tears, holding in my emotion, and ignoring my feelings, it was worse. It hurt more doing that over time, that when I got to a point where I sat with my feelings and my emotion and allowed my emotion to come out regardless of who was around to experience it, I felt free. I felt like why have I held that back so long?
Because once you hold it in, it turns to a different emotion. You heard all that sadness and it turns into anger.
That's true.
You ever feel that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know what? It looks different sometimes based on like what you're doing, but you're right. Like it can turn, holding all of it in can turn to anger. It can turn to depression. It can turn to just an unbelievable feeling of just blah all the time.
Turn into a void. You're trying to.
Well, and that's what you're doing. You're avoiding your feelings. You're avoiding your emotion. You're trying to steer clear of it because you're whatever you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure you don't look weak. And the thing is I personally have learned that my strength is in my emotion. It's in my vulnerability. It's in me processing my feelings instead of avoiding them, because in avoiding them, I just carry it. And now it shows up in all the different walks of life, whether it be in the work you're doing, whether it be in your music. You know, think about it. Think about how many artists we've heard that we can tell he's going through something right now. I can tell through his lyrics. I can tell through some of the things he's doing outside of the studio, when whether it be, you know, he was on the news yesterday for an incident with a person, or he had a situation with his lady, or she had a situation with another artist or something like that. There are artists that continuously, their lives play out in front of us live, and to the point where we can see a lot of the stuff they're carrying around, or more importantly, we can see the patterns that were created based on the things that they're holding on to and the things that they don't have time to face right now, because I got to focus on this music. I got to focus on this grind. Ain't nobody got time for me to like deal with my emotions or my feelings right now. I gotta, you know, we grinders out here. We hustlers out here. So I'll deal with that stuff when I got time. But right now I got to focus on this. But the problem is in focusing on all those things, now their hurt, their feelings is also kind of navigating and creating space for them to show up in ways that they don't want to show up, and they can't explain later on when it's playing on the news, and it's like, yo, what possessed me to do that? Like, why would I do that?
It's one of my favorite artists, Kendrick Lamar, which I'm, you know, wearing a hoodie right now.
Okay.
He back in, you know, he dropped his little Section 80 tape or whatever. And one of his songs, he said, I wanted to be the man of mankind. Well, in the latest album, you know, he finally got to that status. But in one of the very last songs, he was like, I'm sorry I didn't save the world. I was trying to build mine. So he was trying to build his back up after he done built everybody else up. Now he's got to work on himself. Because when you spend so much time, like, you know, with like a family, you spend so much time trying to help them out. You don't really focus on yourself.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like acting is like such a, I don't know, it's just so profound. Like, because you go through life and you act like somebody. Sometimes you act like somebody you're not in some situations, and in some situations you act like somebody you are, and then just to like get around people.
So when you get around people, do you feel like sometimes that you have to put on an act based on the crowd that you're appeasing?
Oh yeah, I feel like for everybody that does that. Some people maybe not, but I know for some, like the mass majority of people, they're like, okay, I'm going around these types of people. Now I gotta talk like them. I gotta act like them. I gotta be like them, or else they're not gonna like me. That's how I was in high school.
Right.
I was myself, but I was myself in those crowds.
Right. In crowds that allowed you to be yourself.
Yeah, almost. Because, like, I was cool with everybody, but everybody, I showed, like, a little bit of myself to everybody, but I still kept everything else, like, an act.
Right.
Because I didn't want everyone to see, like, who I truly was.
How did you think, how do you feel they would have taken you if you had truly opened up to who you truly were, your authentic self?
Well, now that I have, and now I'm doing something that I actually love and like being who I want to be.
Right.
I have about like 3 friends.
You said you've built like 3 friends.
I got like 3 friends now.
And so you're saying a lot of people couldn't take the real you, and so it created a circle now of people who can accept you for you.
It was almost like you weren't who I thought you were, or you weren't like who I wanted you to be.
That's deep. Yeah, that's real though.
Because like I know a lot of people, I'm like, hey, let's hang out. And they're like, oh yeah, and then we hang out, and they're like, you weren't like this before. I was like, well, I've changed. You got to do that when you grow up. You got to become better.
Well, change is all a part of life. I mean, we constantly change. If we stayed the same and people expected you to stay the same, whether it be because they're staying the same or because they like the older version of you, then they should appreciate even what comes with the adjustments or the changes that you make as you grow, because growth is all about change. Or growth doesn't happen without change. You stay very stagnant as long as you fight against the changes that come along with life. Sometimes those changes, we don't actually get to make them. Life just makes them for us. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting up early now for work. I was very comfortable waking up at 12 o'clock. They want me there at 5 a.m. And here we go. And that creates sometimes a person who's schedule and life moves around. Okay, I have to make these changes based on what they're expected of me now, and there's growth in that, like, because now I'm allowing myself to get a lot more of my day without wasting all that day of just wasting it with sleep or whatever we're doing.
It's almost like if you plant a plant, you don't expect that little seed or that little green part to just be the whole tree. It's got to change and turn into the bark and turn into the branches so it can produce fruit or produce whatever it needs to, because it needs to change to like adapt. Yeah,
no, that's true. That's good. That's good. No, I like that. And I was talking, I believe on my last episode, about how we pour into so many different things, but as men, we can't sit with ourselves sometimes and know how to pour back into us. We have, it's almost like it's a lost art of self-love for men, and that we don't know what that looks like, and we don't know how to give ourselves what we give out to everybody else. But it's so important to learn how to give yourself what you give everybody else, because a lot of times it starts like right now. You haven't established a family yet, but before you get there, if you don't know how to love Michael, then how are you going to be able to tell somebody else how to love you?
Exactly. Or how are you going to tell somebody else, I love you? If you don't love yourself, you can't love other people, because you don't know what love is.
And you know what? That is so real. That is so deep. But a lot of us don't realize that it starts with loving yourself before you can love others, because most people don't know that they don't love themselves. They don't look at the actions that showcase they don't love themselves. They don't look at a lot of the sabotage, the self-sabotage they do in their own lives that show you must not love you enough to be able to, like, so if that's how you love you, then I don't know if I want you to love me.
I mean, I'm gonna come from a place, like a place of vulnerability. I don't love myself that much. I can be honest. I know that. I love my family. But do I know it's the real love if I don't show it to myself? It's almost like I can't forgive myself for the things I've done. I can forgive other people. I just don't know how to forgive myself. And that's something I pray about all the time, to help forgiveness in myself. Because if you can't forgive yourself, then you really can't forgive, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Listen, I over understand you. Matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times it is easier to forgive others, but you don't ever consider that you have to forgive yourself for some of the things you've done, some of the shame that you hold on to, the guilt you hold on to. And so as we think about forgiveness, we think about, I have to forgive this person. I have to let this go. I can't move forward without forgiving them and letting that go, moving on. And it doesn't mean I've forgotten it, but I have to move forward in saying, I release what was done to me. I release you from that. And it's not that you're letting them know that personally, but mentally, you're having to let that go so that it doesn't continue to take away from your freedom.
Exactly.
But we still hold ourselves in chains of forgiveness because we won't forgive ourselves for some of the things we've done. And as I've moved in forgiveness towards a lot of things, and I've spoken about forgiveness a lot, I realized that the hardest thing is forgiving yourself.
Because you know what you've done behind closed doors. You don't know what other people's done behind closed doors. You know what I mean?
Right. So then let's discuss it a little bit. So as far as unpacking the forgiveness for self, who do you normally ask for forgiveness from when you know you've done wrong?
God. I just say my Father our in heaven. I pray for forgiveness.
Okay. Do you feel that he forgives you?
I do, because I know he does.
Okay.
But it's in myself to like try to forgive myself. It's almost like I can't. Like I know he forgives me. Or I know he's like, you're good.
Right.
But in myself, I'm like, I know I'm not good.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So then I'm curious, if you know that he forgives you, then how is it that you can't forgive yourself for what he's forgiven you for when he doesn't owe you that forgiveness?
I don't know. It's
he gives you that grace and forgives you. Okay.
It's all about, I mean, somebody could have the strongest mental. Like I have a very strong will and stuff like that to like not do things or like adamant about some things. But when it comes to myself, I don't have like a lot of self-confidence, a lot of self-love. So I kind of brush myself off.
I see what you're saying. No, I see what you're saying. And I guess it does start with forgiving yourself is a level of self-love to say, I love you enough to forgive you for what you've done. And I don't want you to continue to carry this or see yourself this way, because you're right. You know all the things you've done. You walk around with them. They're memories that replay sometimes that kind of put you in a state of like, I'm no good.
Yeah.
But in order to love yourself, you have to be able to forgive yourself for some of the things that you've carried for so long, because freedom is on the other side of forgiving yourself and no longer holding on to the chains, because it's almost like literally like chains are there that you're choosing to keep there because you feel like you deserve to wear those chains. Instead of saying, God doesn't see me this way.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold this over my head and say, oh, well, let's not forget what you did that time.
That's the devil.
Well, he puts in your mind that he won't forgive you for it. He puts in your mind that he'll never forgive you for that. Like, you've gone way too far with it now. He could never forgive you for that. So you definitely shouldn't forgive yourself. But it's a matter of knowing that I'm forgiven. I was forgiven before I even asked.
Yeah.
And he was waiting on me to come back and say, Father, I've messed up. And it's almost like, almost personally, I feel like sometimes it's like he's sitting there and he's like, I know you did, and it's okay. Come on. I know you've messed up, but understand, in my forgiveness to you, I need you to show yourself the same love and forgive yourself for what you've done, because I've forgiven you already.
Yeah.
So don't hold on to chains that I'm already releasing you from.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with self-love for like a long time, like trying to love myself. I mean, I remember whenever I was little, my mom told me that when I would come home and I'd tell myself I'm a bad kid, and then she about whooped me for about 2 straight weeks because I would do that. And I was like, I don't think that was the best thing to do.
That's probably not the response to like me saying that I'm a bad kid.
Yeah.
Like, don't whoop me, because normally you whoop a kid that has done bad.
Yeah,
So
I just walked in the door. I was like, I'm not that good. And she was like, get in your room. I was like, listen, I'm sorry.
But you know what though? We have to give our parents grace, even in knowing that sometimes the reactions we get from them, or lack of reactions or whatever, a lot of time it's due to things that they haven't dealt with yet.
Yeah.
And they mean well, but a lot of times they're parenting you based on how they were parented, and maybe they experienced that same level of like, don't say that, get in your room. It's like, okay. But a lot of times it's hard for us to go back and unlearn all of the things that we've experienced. I mean, as I talk about it in one of my earlier episodes, in that we get this handbook a lot of times as parents, and we're parenting you from the handbook that we were given from our parents.
Yeah.
And listen to me, it wasn't the greatest handbook. Matter of fact, a lot of it was just like pure craziness, but we didn't have anything else. So we're flipping through it. Okay, comes home and says, yeah, get in your room. And it's like, that doesn't seem right, but yeah, it's the play they use. Yeah. So a lot of times,
the play they use.
It's the play they use. The play's here.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl 5 times in a row. So
I mean, look at me. I didn't think they did too bad. But I mean, honestly, if you go into that, you're like, wait a minute, look at me.
Yeah.
Like that messed me up right there.
I don't think getting locked in the closet was good for my mental.
Right. Exactly. Like it probably didn't help, but that was the play that was in here. And so it's a matter of realizing that there are a lot of things that it's okay just because we were taught them. It's okay to say, you know what, I need to unlearn that behavior so that I can forgive myself, so that I can give myself love and grace, so that I can give myself the space to just say, you know what, I'm not okay, and it's okay for me to like not be okay today, because I am always trying to hold it together and like stand so hard in this wind called life. And like, you know what? I don't feel like standing straight up and hard into the wind today. I want to rest today.
I'm going to blow with the wind.
Well, I don't know if you want to get blown away, but I will say
I'm just saying, feel relaxed.
I get what you're saying. But there are times when it's okay to say, you know what? The best form of self-love for some people is, I'm going to take a break. I don't ever break. Mm-hmm. I am constantly going because I feel like my worth is in me going and performing. But you know what though? I'm going to give back to me today. I'm going to rest today. I'm going to take vacation. I'm going to take vacation to do nothing at all. I want to sit here and just spend time with me, actually kind of like checking how I feel about a lot of different things, sitting with some of my feelings that I have put off and avoided, and I don't have time because those feelings will cause me to not really be able to perform my job the way I want to. But you know what? I'm going to actually just kind of sit with those today, because if I don't sit with them today, I never will.
But sometimes it's hard for that too. Like, let's say you just want to take like a mental day or something like that. You can't tell your job and be like, listen, I just need today. Are you sick? No, I don't feel up. You're coming in today though, right?
Okay, well, you know what? Understand, you can't expect everybody to understand the importance of their mental health.
I'm just saying, I understand
I get what you're saying.
But it's hard though.
And that's why most people won't go to the job and be like, I need to take a mental health day or mental break day.
Because they don't understand that.
Because they won't understand that. They now understand, there are some managers like myself who, if you told me that you needed to take a mental day, I may get in trouble for this, but I would give you that free, because I understand the importance of, you know what, you can't show up here the way you should show up if your mind is running all over the place and you can't focus on what's going on here.
You can't be 100% if you don't feel 100%.
Yeah. No, very true. And so sometimes you have to take that time and that space to actually put yourself back together, deal with certain things, unlearn certain things, sit in peace with what's going on, even when it's crazy. Like, I've got to find peace in this moment right now, because I don't think this storm's going to let up, and I can't allow the fact that this storm is not letting up to dictate how I show up for everybody. Sometimes there are a lot of situations where you don't have a lot of time, but you should give yourself the time. And that's just something that as men, we don't put a lot of focus on, and giving ourselves that time to show up for everybody that needs us the way we should.
Because like, I like to think I'm a very generous person too. So like, if I'm giving you my time, I'm giving you that. And like, I don't ask for your time back. I'm just, if you need me, I'm here. And just stuff like that. And then like, if like you need this, I got you for it. And just stuff like that, like little stuff like that, just, helps my mental too.
But if you're constantly pouring into those people with your time and everything, just giving, not expecting anything in return, the question is when are you going to give yourself the same? When are you going to give back to yourself? Ooh, perfect example. You spoke about how every paycheck, you take money, you pay your bills, then you turn around and you pay yourself. You put money into your own account. A lot of us need to approach our life, our mental health, our feelings, our emotions, the same way we approach our savings, and the way we turn around and we take something and we give it back to ourselves. I paid myself as well. You need to pay yourself some time. You need to pay yourself some patience, some grace, some love, the same way you're pouring out into everybody else, because what happens is eventually the pouring that you're doing for everybody else, you realize that your cup is empty and you're still trying to pour from an empty cup. And you sit back and you're hoping that everybody will notice that your cup's empty and will pour back into you some of what you poured into them.
Yeah.
But they're so used to you just pouring that they don't know how to pour back into you. That's something like they've never done.
It's almost like if you're at a table and you leave the cup right there, you're like, my waiter or waitress will get that.
Right.
And they just walk by and you're like, man, I'm real thirsty right now.
Right. That happens a lot in real life, in that it's not that they can't or don't want to pour back into you. It's just that they don't even know how to pour into themselves.
Yeah.
And they've become so accustomed to just being poured into from you that it was never a part of y'all's relationship for them to pour back into you.
Yeah.
So they may not be the person to pour back into you. You may have to go find the community that pours into you. And sometimes you can't expect certain things from certain people, no matter how much you're like, yeah, but I am the one who's always there for you. But maybe that's not the person that's supposed to pour into you. Maybe you might have a different group that fills you up so you can come back and fill those people up. And not saying, well, I got to stop filling you up if you can't fill me up. Well, no, sometimes you're that community for that person to fill them up.
Yeah, and they don't know that you need filling.
Right. Well, correct. Because they become so accustomed to just being filled by you, but not turn around and filling you up. They maybe that's not what they have learned how to do for anyone, including themselves. So they need you to pour into them, because if you don't, then
nobody else will.
Sometimes it's that way. Yeah. So no, I mean that's really good. That's important information that a lot of people overlook and don't realize it's so important until they are sitting there depleted and they never found the community to pour into them now that they're empty.
Yeah.
And being empty and continuously having to perform, whether it be at your work, for your family, it's hard. It's hard to do it empty.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So,
especially, it's hard to drink out of an empty cup.
I mean, there's nothing to drink. I don't know if that was your way of telling me your cup's empty, but no. You want me to pour into it real quick? But no. That's really good stuff. So, who do you feel nowadays? Who do you go to be poured into when you notice that you are empty?
God. I mean, fill my cup till it overflows. And if your cup is overflowing, it's going under and could be filling someone else's cup.
Okay. All right. Okay. So do you feel like with going to God and him filling you up, do you feel like it creates a space for you to turn around and fill up everybody else constantly? Do you ever feel like you're maybe lacking a space with other people that may be a part of the communities you're in, or communities you haven't maybe met yet, you haven't joined yet, that you want that space to say, okay, I get filled up so much by God. Why is it that God hadn't sent me the community to fill me up here?
Well, I mean, you can try to fill other people's cups, but if somebody's drinking what other people's poured into them, they can't drink what you have. So if somebody else is filling their cup up with some poison, they can finish the poison until they get something else to drink.
Okay, wow, that was deep. That was really deep. Do you feel like you experience that a lot, and that you watch other people be filled up with poison, as you said, to where you don't feel like there's a need to come behind that person and say, hey, by the way, you're drinking poison. You know, do you feel like that's benefiting you, or that's growing you, or that's creating a space for your continuous growth?
I feel like some people know, and they're fine with it because they like how it tastes.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I know this.
Okay. So. Okay. Yeah. No. Continue.
I was gonna say there's this guy at my gym, and he's all like, he's got a hat with like 666 on it. It's like covered in tattoos. His truck has like a upside down cross and stuff like that. I'm like, geez, like if you go into all this, like there's nothing on the other side for that. Like what are you drinking? What are you doing that you think you're gonna benefit out of that? And I would say something, but it's at the gym.
Well, but I mean, what would you say? I mean, and understand that a lot of what people live, a lot of how people live, a lot of it is programming. Mm-hmm. They didn't come into this world that way. A lot of it is in that the people that poured into them poured, like you said, poison. And if I trust these people, if I look up to these people, if these people have been in my life, then how or why would I say, well, you guys are wrong. This is wrong. No, these people love me. So I am living a living lineage of what they have poured into me.
Well, it's almost like,
even if
go ahead.
Like no, you're fine. Even if I know there's a gut feeling that it's wrong. It's like, but like, think about it. We're to honor our mother and father. And sometimes in honoring our mother and father, even if our mother and father are wrong, we won't ever create boundaries to say, you know what? I've drank enough from what you guys have poured into me. Mm-hmm. And there comes a time where I have to say that I don't feel this is healthy for me. This is not the life I want to live anymore.
Yeah.
So in knowing that this is not the life I want to live, I still love you all. But there are boundaries I have to put in place now to say I can't continue to carry on what you guys have poured into me. Mm-hmm. I have to say now that I'm not trying to change you all, but I can't continue to be what you wanted me to be.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sit well with my values, it doesn't sit well with my religion, or whatever it is that you have decided that this is no longer who I want to be. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that moment where you say, this doesn't align with me, but think about it. If I'm in a community where everybody is living this, everybody is doing this, then I feel right at home. And you can't tell me differently. I feel like this is what my parents have poured into me. Then I get around my friends. This is what they're pouring as well. Everybody's pouring this up. Mm-hmm. So it's my life. It's what I live. And I have a community that backs me on it.
Well, you got to think about this too. Or not just think about it. It's a good little segue. Sorry.
No.
Is that, how do you tell somebody something that they already know? Like, let's say, and they know that all these people around them are doing this thing, and you tell them, like, let's say I tell that person at the gym, I tell him about Jesus. It's about a 99% chance that he knows Jesus already. Just chooses not to.
Yeah, but do you feel like he knows him like you know him? Does he know him based on the experiences you've had? I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a time when, of course, I knew Jesus. Of course, I knew the stories and all, but I didn't know him like a lot of other people knew him. I hadn't encountered him like I've encountered him now.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to tell me how good God is if I've never gone to him and said, God, I need you to meet me the way you've met them. I need you to kind of find a place to come into my life
and help me navigate some of the things that I've heard about how you've navigated others. And it's not sometimes it's a matter of surrendering what you've been doing or how you've been living to say, all right, I'm trying to live based on how you want me to live and not based on how I've been living. Because sometimes we try to keep like one foot out the door and we'll stick that one foot in just to be like, all right, what's this about? And it's like,
you want to kick that door open. You want to keep it open.
Well, it's about stepping fully in. As I personally had to do, I had to be all in with God. I couldn't be half in. I couldn't like give him, like, I'll give you half of me just to see what you'll do with it. I had to be all in. And until I was all in, I don't believe I ever experienced him the way I do now, the way he has led my life, the way he's provided me wisdom in a lot of different avenues of life, the way he has blessed me to bless others. It's completely different than what I had experienced before I was fully all in.
Well, you can't be 50-50. It's like you can't serve a master and serve God. You have to serve you either choose one or you choose the other. It's Like I think it says I think it's in James or something like that. I could be completely wrong.
No, go ahead.
It's a friend of the world is an enemy of God. So you can't be a friend of the world. It's almost like you having a friend that's doing all this like stealing and different stuff like that, but then you got a friend that's like restoring and giving to like the homeless people or something like that. That's two different worlds.
Right.
You got someone that's taking and someone that's giving. What are you a part of? Are you gonna take or are you gonna give?
Right. And no, and that's true. But see, the thing is that it's comfortable for some people to live that. Well, I'm going to be. I'll give you this part of me, or I'll give you this, but like I still have to be this for these people, and I still have to live this life for these people, and I
just thought about this one thing. I don't know why, but you just made me think about it. It's line in the song. Do you know the artist Black, like Six
Yes.
Black? Yeah. On one of his features or whatever he was on, he was like, I got morals on Sundays, sometimes on Wednesdays, so every other day. He doesn't have the same rules as he does on Sunday. And I thought that was like, that's good. You got morals only on Sunday, but you got to have it. You got to be consistent.
Right. You can't live a certain life on Sundays and maybe even Wednesdays, because if you're just living that life, then you're expecting God just to show up for you on Sundays or Wednesdays. And then, hey, look, I'll catch back up with you again when I get back around to Sunday. And it's okay, perfect example. Imagine giving that ultimatum to a girl you like, a girl you want to date, your wife. Hey, look, I'll see you on Sunday and maybe Wednesday.
If I'm feeling up to it on Wednesday.
Yeah, if I'm feeling up to it. Now, a lot of us don't have to say, that's a good question. I wonder how she would know. I think we all know how she would respond. Like, I think we all know. And so we look at our relationship with God to just be a Sunday or maybe Wednesday thing. Instead of saying, no, I got to wake up every day, like to say, hey, God, I can't, you know what? I'm outside of the fact that I need coffee. I need you too, because right now I'm already feeling like saying I don't want to face today. But I know that you can give me the strength and you can give me exactly what I need to face whatever, because you're already in today. You're already in tomorrow. So you know exactly what I need today to be able to make it to tomorrow. So it's a matter of like, I can't do this without you, even though it's not Sunday. It's a Tuesday, but I need you today. Because if I got to wait till Sunday to actually experience you, I might not make it to Sunday. So yeah, that is where I say to each his own, but understand that if you don't have to wait till Sunday.
It's almost like if you're going to talk to your friend, you're like, I have this question. It's Tuesday. I'll ask you on Sunday. You're going to forget the question.
Oh yeah. More importantly, you may not still need what you were looking for anymore. You may have just said, oh, you know what, forget about it. Oh, you may have coped with it some other way, instead of saying, hey, look, you know what, I need your help with this right now.
like before I decide to take it on myself with my own strength and maybe my own habits and my own addictions, because hopefully they'll if I don't step to you, then I'm going to take it on, and I might not, it's not going to be as pretty if I take this on the way I feel like it should be taken on. Yeah, no, that's very true. Wow, that's good. Hey, this has been a good conversation here. So outside of everything we've discussed, just because I want to make sure I give you time to cover that, maybe some things that you're experiencing that you want to talk about, or maybe even just closing statements.
I don't really have anything. I don't really know. I just know that once you find a relationship with God that you're happy with, search for more.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's deep. That's real. Hey, bro, I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time out to just sit with me and really just, as I tell people, nobody deserves our vulnerability, as we discussed, but to open up and freely give your vulnerability, knowing that sometimes people may try to use it against you, may try to come back and attack you because of it, or make you feel like you're less of a man, whether it be in your emotions or your vulnerability of you expressing yourself. I appreciate you coming on today. It was a blessing, not only to me, but to others that will listen to this. I'd also like to thank all my listeners who enjoy the conversations, in hopes that they can truly see God's glory in these stories. But more importantly, I like them to feel God's love in areas of their life where they feel like, man, he doesn't want anything to do with me. I've messed up too much. I have ruined this life that he gave me. And there's no way that he's going to take me back from some of the things that I can't even give myself forgiveness for. And so, I hope that you all can be blessed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, we appreciate you listening today and hope that if you enjoyed the conversation and stories, you will subscribe and listen to past and future content. Feel free to comment, as we would love to read your comments and pray over all of our listeners. Also, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at God's Glory and Men's Real Stories.
We understand as men how the thought of even facing your own story and the pain and hurt that come with that is a challenging task. But we don't want you to feel like you are all alone, because you are not. God has not forgotten you or left your side, and he loves you no matter what you have done. Your healing is important to him, and we want you to have these free resources that already exist if you're considering giving up or need someone to talk to. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. If you need support but are not in crisis, consider reaching out to a warm line if you need to talk to someone. Speaking to someone on these calls is typically free and confidential, and run by people who understand what it's like to struggle with mental health. Find a local number by going to warmline.org.